So, as I mentioned, no need to be on or off camera, really. Thank you for sharing your lunch hour with me today. I really hope you're going to get lots of value. What I'm going to be doing is talking through what it is, what it means to be a virtual assistant, what it is, what's going on in the market currently, that type of thing. So hopefully you're going to get lots of information. Please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. I'm going to share some slides with you shortly. So I'm going to pop the chat up too so that I can see your questions as they come in. I think I might just get started because it's going to be probably just about an hour, just over. But if you've got any questions, I'm really, happy to, stay on and answer anything that comes up for you. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and share the slides, and then make sure that I can see you guys and the chat. And if anybody joins us a little late, that's fine. Okay, we're good to go. Okay, I'm going to get started. As I said, please feel free to pop any questions in the chat as we go. Yeah, I'll either answer them as if it's appropriate at the time, or I'll come back to it later. So what we're going to be covering today is we're going to be talking about, first of all, I'll introduce myself for those of you that might not have met me before. Then I'm going to talk about what a VA is, and we're going to talk about the industry today and what, try to help you decide whether being a VA is the right way for you to go. We're going to run through a few business essentials, where to start, where most people are getting stuck. And then at the end, I'm going to introduce you to our VA course. I'm not a hard sell kind of person, so I'd really appreciate it if you hang around to the end. And if it's not for you, that's absolutely fine. But it might be that you could recommend us to somebody else. So I'd really appreciate it if you would stay to the end and listen to that. Also, I'd really be grateful for some feedback, and I'll come to that as we go through it. So have we met already then? So I'm Paula Edwards. I'm the founder of Advanced Virtual Assistants. I was born in North Devon and I married into the RAF in 1995. So I've been a military spouse for almost 31 years. And during that time, we've moved 16 times. I'm the mum of 3 grown children and 2 miniature long-haired Dachshunds. Throughout that time, I've had lots of jobs, and I've been fortunate, to find work wherever we've moved, and a relative career progression. But I did still feel mentally unfulfilled. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchies of needs, and at the top of his pyramid, it's self-actualization. And I realized when I came across this a few years ago now that that's the bit that I wasn't achieving, my self-actualization. And I got a little tired of reinventing myself every time we moved, setting up a new job, just getting my teeth into the job, proving my worth and working my way up again. So in 2016, in a posting to Germany, I say the stars aligned, really. I had a few friends that were starting a new business that were looking for some support, and a few things lined up for me, and I decided to set up my VA business. And in 2017, I registered with HMRC. And then in 2018, I got so fully booked. January 2018, I remember taking on 4 new clients that month. And it was just crazy. I never again will I do 4 clients in 1 month. But that made me completely fully booked. And what I was finding is that every time I got new inquiries, I was excited to help the new things out because I really like going in and tidying up, I now have discovered. So I realised that I was over delivering. So all the VA work that was coming in, I started taking on associates, and I took on my first associate in 2018. Then in 2019, I took on my first team member. So that was my social media support, and that was with Vicky, and Vicky's still with us and does all of our social media. So I'm really pleased to say she's been with me quite a long time. In fact, she and I were trying to remember how long it was yesterday. So there we are, to answer my own question. And then in 2020, so many people had asked me how I'd created what I created that I decided to write it down, and our Activate course was born. In 2021, I certified as a director of operations, and in 2022, I became a limited company and VAT registered. 23, we launched our membership, and 24, we launched our OBM course. And then in 25, we launched our Elite VA course as well. So that's a quick sort of like rundown where we are. Today, we've got the agency where we've got about 18 people on the team delivering services to our clients, and we have everything back office, VA, OBM, and myself, Director of Ops. I work myself directly with 2 clients still, and I do some project work periodically, and I help people create courses. And then we've got the academy where we've got the 3 courses I've mentioned there, and the membership, and we've got the occasional short course where we do things like client attraction and that type of thing. So, what is a VA? Well, I like this explanation, but it's a really tricky one because many things get called a VA. There's many interpretations of it, and essentially, it's somebody who's highly skilled, an independent professional who works remotely and provides administrative, technical, and/or creative business support. And I think that's kind of like all-encompassing of it. But we can see social media managers calling themselves a VA. We can see people helping with the tech calling themselves VA. We see lots of things, lots of people doing calling themselves a VA, and it can mean many, many things. I think actually it's a bit broad, but this gives you a good idea of what a VA is. And the VA industry today, well, it's an ever-growing industry. So many people ask me, is the VA market saturated? And yes, it's definitely a lot busier and definitely a lot noisier than it used to be. When I started 10 years ago, that I had to follow up every conversation with explaining what a VA is, whereas today, of course, we don't have to do that. It's very well known what a virtual assistant is. But, that's to say, it's not a negative thing. It's a great thing that people are knowing what we do and knowing our value and our worth and how we can really contribute to their business. So it's a great thing that it's much more widely known now. It is ever growing and it is busier and noisier than it used to be. But that said, I also think that the industry, there's more demand than there used to be as well, because especially post-COVID, what we saw is a huge explosion of people realizing that they can work remotely, they can run their business remotely. And in actual fact, in the last year or so, we've had quite a lot of inquiries from business owners who've got bricks and mortar businesses, or they've got the traditional employee model business, and they want to move away from that and move to a remote team because of ordinarily it's usually because of the costs involved in paying for premises and paying for employees. So the demand is actually on the increase, and as I say, during COVID, many business owners realised how the tech is there to support this now, and how much easier than they anticipated it is. Also during COVID, during the pandemic, quite a lot of people started up a business. I think a lot of people realised that they like the flexibility of being able to work from home and being more available to their family. And there was a huge increase in business starting up at that time. And of course, nowadays, like what are we now, 5 or 6 years further down the line, those businesses are definitely starting to need some external help. So the demand is definitely there, albeit it is a busier market. And so who generally works with VA? So what we see is the Society of Virtual Assistants. They do an annual survey, and this is a really helpful graphic that I've borrowed from them to show you which kind of industries work with virtual assistants. But I think it's important to say that whilst we see a vast majority of people working in the business consultancy and coaching area, it's definitely, this list is not exhaustive. In my experience of doing this for 10 years, as I said, really we work with all sorts of industries, all sorts of businesses, all different sizes. We work with people who are bricks and mortar business. We work with people who are fully remote. We work with startups. We work with scale-ups. We work with international. Oh, no problem, Amanda. I thought there might be an issue, something like that. We had an almighty thunderstorm during this thing last night, and I thought I was going to lose everybody, but I managed to stay. So thankfully, that was a bit like, well, I don't know what I can do about it. Not a lot, really. So yeah, many industries work with virtual assistants. It really isn't. You don't need to keep your mind closed. I would actually keep your mind very open to who might want to work with virtual assistants. As I was saying, we've worked with financial organisation that's an international, got huge premises in lots of big cities across the world, and they've worked with us. We've worked with, we still are working with a candle making factory. We've worked with tech startups and scale-ups, and all of these other things that you see here on the left. So it's really not a narrow market. It's very broad, and it's got broader, as I mentioned, as time has gone on and people are seeing the value in working in this way. So the types of VAs, so we see a generalist or a specialist VA, and most often people are looking for a generalist VA. And by that I mean people that can do just about most things across the board in terms of admin. So certainly the PAEA role is probably the most in demand, has been ever since I started. I have to say it's something I've never really delivered. I've never been a PA or an EA, and I'm not very good at that type of thing, mainly because I don't really enjoy it. But that is where the most demand is in the market. But when I say generalist, I mean, you know, the general admin tasks, research, bit of customer service, spreadsheets, data, all sorts of things really, all the admin that you can imagine that needs to take place to keep a business going. That's what I mean by generalist VA, and they are definitely the most in demand for obvious reasons really. But we also see specialist VAs, what we call a specialist VA, and that's when maybe somebody wants to niche down to deliver something, some special kind of specific kind of service. So it could be that they specialize in a type of tech, like a CRM or a project management tool, or maybe it's the all-in-one tools like Go High Level, or not Infusionsoft anymore, is it? It's Keep. You know, that type of thing. We see people that are specializing in just doing these doing these setups in these tools, and often we do see in those situations they're things that you're able to, you know, command a higher rate of them. Then there are the different types of VAs in terms of what we call career, hobby, and side hustle. They're not my words. We do see them used a lot, and I'm using them because you'll probably understand them better when I use them, but I don't really like them, if I'm honest. But let me explain what I mean by what they are. When I say a career VA, what I mean is that somebody who's really making their main primary source of income. Maybe they want to replace a full-time salary. Maybe they want to take it further and take it stratospheric and be a multimillionaire, who knows? But you know, anything is possible. And so it's somebody who wants to throw that all into it, and make it their everything, really. And then we have what we call the hobby, and I think that demeans the role, and that's not my intention. But sometimes we see people who maybe have taken early retirement but are bored and maybe want to supplement their pension a little bit. Maybe we see people who've got young children and want to just work during school hours, 4 days a week or whatever. That's what I would call a hobbyist VA. I don't like that word, as I say, but you know, just for the purposes of explaining it here. And then we see the side hustle, and this is often people who do something to supplement their income in terms of maybe they're already working full time and they want to do something in the evenings to bring in a bit extra cash. So it's something they're doing on the side. None of those are wrong. It's what's right for you. And that's so important to remember. I think we can get swept up in this very busy VA world and think that we should be doing better than we're doing. What's really important and what's a major win here is if you get it to where you want it to be, whatever that looks like. It doesn't have to look like what I'm doing or each other are doing. It's about thinking, well, what's an absolute win for me would be to be, you know, I don't know, earning, I don't know, an extra £500 a month, or replacing my income, or whatever your thing is, or bringing in enough money so that I can afford to have my nails done and have a facial once a month around the children. You know, it doesn't matter. Whatever your win is, then that's a win when you get there. And the other beauty is, of course, is you can jump between all of these things. You can go from having a hobby and fitting things around the children, and then when they become less dependent, moving it into a career, and then maybe back to a hobby again when you want to do a bit less later on in life. Who knows? Then that's the beauty of this, setting yourself up as a virtual assistant. And then finally, the associate position. So the associate position is when you would work for what we call a lead VA, and I would be considered a lead VA. I've been doing this a long time. I've got a team of VAs that work on my behalf, on behalf of Advance, with our clients. Essentially, the clients belong to Advance, and you would sign a contract as an associate to essentially say that you will adhere to all of our things like data protection and all of those things, but also not to steal our clients. There's a non-compete clause in there, in terms of taking our clients. And with an associate VA, our model here, some places do it differently, but we would pair up somebody who's a really good fit for one of our client and make the introduction and then let you work directly together. We don't interfere too much. Not everybody does it that way, but the vast majority of us do it that way. The benefits of being an associate are that it makes it a bit easier to do that transition into building your business because you feel like you've got a bit of a safety net. I myself did some associate work really early on for two lead VAs that I'm still really good friends with, and we still speak regularly. And I think it's just that sort of comfort blanket when you're getting started to just make sure you feel like you've got a bit of top cover, a bit of support, just to get you going. The other thing is, I think, is well, it's important to say that the confidence comes from the doing, doesn't it? And until you start doing it, it's hard to build your confidence. The other thing is that you don't need to market yourself quite as much. Of course, as a business owner, you need to think about all of your business pillars and that you're covering off all the pillars. And one of those is sales and marketing, and that's very often one we see VAs shying away from. And so if you're not comfortable with doing that type of thing, it's another good way to go because the marketing is predominantly done by the lead VA. You only have to market yourself to the lead VA and you don't have to worry about being everything to everybody online or in person for that matter. But the cons of being an associate is that you will not fulfill the full earning potential. So what we typically see is 60 to 70% of whatever is, you will earn 60 to 70% of whatever the lead VA is charging out. And so you'll take a cut in your hourly rate. And that's it really. I think what I often say is, our team, we've got people that only want to work as an associate and they've been an associate. Thankfully, we don't have much churn at all in our team. Most of them want to stay. And some people just want to do that the whole time. And then other people want a hybrid. They like a few of their own clients and a few associate positions. Maybe they do associate work for me and maybe another lead VA. There's the world's your oyster really. Or maybe you want to do as I did and you want to do it for a while, and then when that client naturally moves on, you decide not to pick up any more associate work and you fulfill it with your own direct clients so that you can maximize your earning potentials. So there's lots of flexibility and freedom in there, as you can see, of how you could set your virtual assistant business up. Here's a few more details about that. So I've just explained what a lead VA is. There's many of us now. And the average rate, this was 2024, I think, is £22 an hour. No, maybe it is current. That's more or less right. I would say that we're looking at £20 to £27 an hour as an associate, depending on your experience, depending on what the lead VA is managing to charge it out at, and depending on the type of work as well. And where to find associate work? Well, definitely social media. You'll find in the Facebook groups, there's lots of associate work being advertised all the time. We ourselves, we tend to offer any work out. If we've got a good fit on our team, then that's who we will approach first. If we don't have, and it's not just about the good fit, it's the availability. If we've got somebody who's the perfect fit but doesn't have the amount of time that the client's looking for, then obviously that's not going to work. So then we tend to go out to our students. We look at our alumni, and I get to know our students quite well because we work closely together. We've got their membership afterwards, so I get to know people inside there as well. And so if I think somebody's a good fit for this particular client, we'll go out to our alumni. But we do have the opportunity for you to apply through our website, as do many of my colleagues. So that's another way that you can look for some associate work. And of course, face-to-face things, if you go to things like the VA networking conferences and that type of thing, you might find some associate work that way. So is being a VA for me? I think a few things that I wanted to point out here is, like, I've really demonstrated the flexibility and of becoming a virtual assistant. And there's been lots of pros, but I'm not somebody who's, not going to be completely honest with you. And I think what I would say is what I love about being a VA, or for me, an online service provider now, I now do fractional director of operations and that type of thing, is that I love the variety. I love having the opportunity to work with different people. Only this morning, I had a really interesting discovery call, a business that I would love to work with. So exciting. I think we could probably put 4 or 5 VAs and myself into that. Well, one OBM, myself, and maybe 3 VAs into that. He's got 4 businesses. I love the opportunity to get involved and learn about these businesses. And it means that the type of work is so wide and varied. It's just fantastic. And as I've already demonstrated, you can create it to fit around how you want it to fit. And it sounds all too good to be true. And it's not. It genuinely isn't. You can create it to be how you want it. I'm not saying you're going to get there like, day one. It's not going to be like that. You're going to have to work at it, and you're going to have to, I always say, you have to kiss a few frogs. There may be some types of clients or type of work that you don't like to do, but you only find that out the hard way. It's absolutely, I wouldn't ever change it. I absolutely love what this has provided for me and my family. But having a really understanding mindset, I've been doing a lot of work on mindset in the last few years, and at the moment I'm training to be a nervous system regulation coach. I think this is a huge part of why I see people not getting what they want out of their business, and to an extent, for a long time, me included. I think if we don't have the belief in ourselves, and I see this in women, especially those that haven't been in the workplace for a long time, it's really hard to get, to go and sell yourself if you don't believe in yourself. So understanding the impact of your mindset and realizing that it's just your body trying to keep you safe because it's fearing going into something unknown, and pushing through that is an amazing major skill. So I really urge you to think about that. And I have probably more than half of the people that join the course struggle with this. And we have take Gemma on our team as a mindset coach, and I take it so seriously. It's a huge part of your success, working on your mindset. And the other thing is self-leadership. There's not going to be anybody to tell you to be at your desk at 9 o'clock. There's not going to be anybody to tell you to meet that deadline. It comes down to you and you doing it. We can all have a moment or two procrastinating, putting the washing on or hanging it out, or let's have another coffee. We can all do that, can't we? And actually that's part of the beauty of it. But it's about like, okay, now come on, let's knuckle down. We've got to get this done. So there's a bit of self-leadership and self-discipline in there. The other thing I'd say is being able to work alone, because most often we work at home on our own, and it can be a bit isolating if you're not really comfortable with that. But you can put in ways and measures to support that. Like maybe you want to work once a week at a networking co-working hub, or do co-working online so that you've got a bit of company, or just putting in those things so that you can support yourself in the way that you work best. And being a bit resilient, that's the other thing. At the end of the day, being a virtual assistant is that you are becoming a business owner, and we have to build our resilience, and that does take a bit of time, and sometimes we go through things, as I said, to kiss a few frogs to help build our resilience in things. But you've got to understand that sometimes a client says no. Perhaps you have a discovery call and they say, no, I'm going with somebody else. That sometimes can feel a bit personal, and you've got to learn to accept that it's not personal. Then there's times that perhaps they stop working with you. Maybe the money's not there anymore or whatever. And again, you've got to be a bit resilient to sort of dust yourself off and think, okay, this is an opportunity. Let's have a look at what we can do to replace this client or whatever it is. And then having a growth mindset. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Carol Dweck's work, but it's really fascinating. But it's about being open-minded to continual learning, really. That's so important as a virtual assistant, especially with the pace at which tech is continually evolving. I'm not saying you need to be the best person at tech and a particularly techie, but you'd be really surprised. Even the people going through our course, we introduce you to tech throughout the course, and you get to the end and can't quite believe how much you've learned already in that time. And that sets the stage of what it's like to be a virtual assistant. We're continually learning, and I embrace it. I'm always on some, I've probably got about 3 courses on the go at the moment. I have, if not more. But I really love to continually learn. And what that means is usually in the past, I've done courses to help me do better in my business. But of course, as a byproduct of that, it means I can teach you about it as well. So I'm continuously investing in myself. So in terms of setting up your business, it's actually quite a low cost business to set up because most of us have got a laptop, most of us have got Wi-Fi, so we can usually get going. There are a few things that you will need to buy. Ultimately, what I'd say is make sure your laptop isn't, out with the dinosaurs and super slow. It needs to be a decent laptop, and so does your Wi-Fi, because at the end of the day, we're trading time for money, and we need to make sure that we're not taking advantage of our clients if we're sitting looking at a whirly wheel of doom for 5 minutes. So they're the financial outlays. You need to put the time in, especially in the beginning, to get yourself to where you want to be. Think about how you're going to set up your business, what you're going to deliver, and I'll come on to those things in a minute. But time investment is quite a lot, but it's exciting. And I think if you're anything like me, you lose yourself into the laptop and can't believe an hour's passed already. In terms of business setup, you need to think about whether you want to be a sole trader or whether you want to be a limited company. That's for people in the UK, or a partnership. How do you want to set up the business structure? Also think about the legals. So in terms of legals, there's very little that actually we have governing us as virtual assistants. But I would say for best practice, I would definitely be thinking about, we expect everybody on our team to take out insurance. You need to look at being ICO registered. You will need to purchase fit for purpose contracts. And again, this is best practice. There's no rules to say this, but what I don't want you to do is go and download something off the internet and it be an American law and not stand up to anything here in the UK or wherever you're based in actual fact. So make sure that you get fit for purpose contract, and I definitely would recommend that you buy contracts. I have some recommendations on our website. If you go and have a look in the shop in there, that's who we work with and who we buy our contracts from. And what else? There are a few things like making sure that you're GDPR compliant and you're managing data correctly. And also within your contract, you'll have some clauses that relate to those things. And in terms of equipment, as I mentioned, really, it's just the laptop. Most of us have got a laptop and a phone already. Even the phone I very rarely use. I use my phone because I can run my business from my phone. But I don't have that many calls, in all honesty. Most things are on Zoom on the computer. So although that said, most of us got a phone, haven't we? Let's face it. So computer, phone, Wi-Fi. Don't even really need a printer. Never, hardly ever use it. In fact, children use it more than I do. Very little equipment indeed. So it's a relatively low cost, low risk business to start. And on that note, where do we start? I always like most people don't do this work, and this is something that we do in our course, because at the end of the day, as I said, you're starting a business and it's really important. Well, I'm a big advocate for doing things really properly. My whole background is building businesses for other people until I started this. And now I help people build their businesses still alongside building my business. And I think it's really important to have a vision. I often use this analogy that you wouldn't sit on the driveway, turn your car engine on, put your car seat belt on, put it into gear and not know where you're going. Usually you know where you're going when you get in the car. And it's as important when you're starting a business to know where you want to go, so that you know if you're going in the right direction and you know when you've got there. It's important to celebrate yourself when you've got there. This feels like hard work when you first start out, and I don't expect you to be acing it to start with. But what I would say is, um, at least start doing this work and get some clarity. And I'm going to help you a little bit with that in a minute. Then think about what services you want to offer. What have we done before? What do you like doing? Um, we've got a skills analysis spreadsheet where I encourage people to put down everything that they've ever done before, and whether that means in employed roles, volunteer roles, maybe you've organised the best big birthday parties or the best, events. Maybe you've got events management skills. Think about everything. What do people say about you that you're good at? Lots of people say, oh gosh, give it to Amanda because she's super organized or whatever. We tend to find that people will tell us what we're good at. So have a think at all the things that we've maybe done in the past, and then think about out of those things, what have we enjoyed? What are we good at and what have we enjoyed? Because ultimately, what I want for you is to end up delivering the type of work that you enjoy to do. That's where you want to end up with. You might not get there straight away, but that's what we ultimately want to end up with. So think about what services that you could offer to your clients, and you'll be surprised actually once you start putting everything down, how the list grows. And then who is it that you want to work with? Who's your ideal client? We talk about an ideal client avatar. That's kind of like if we were to draw up the perfect client that we want to work with, we base this on our knowledge up to now, and we might not know all the details. And as I said, you'll do a lot of this learning on the job, as do I still to this day. But I know who I like to work with and who we best suit, and that's who I target in my marketing. So it's like, maybe I've got a little slide to share with you, and that I'll come back to that a bit more. And then how are you going to let people know you're doing your business? That's what you need to think about. It's all well and good, sitting there setting up this perfect VA business, but it's no good if you don't tell anybody about it. So how are you going to let people know about your business and what you're doing? And then think about your rates and your fee structure. How are you going to charge it out, and be really confident and about talking about money. Get really comfortable to be able to say, well, my rate is whatever per hour, and not hesitate on that. Understand your worth and stick to it. As I said, I've got a few more slides on these types of things, so I'm just going to whiz through these. So talking about your vision, a good way to start is like, what would you like your life to look like in 1, 3, or 5 years' time? And be as specific as you can. I like to mind map this sort of thing. Just start writing and see what comes out. You'll be surprised what falls out of your head. But if you were to create your dream life, and even if it's like completely not possible, but if you were to, what would that look like? And it's quite good to look at it in the short and medium terms, not 5 years might be a bit ambitious right now, but if you're like me, I'm 54 now, I want to be thinking about what I'm going to be doing in terms of, sadly, retirement's going to be on the doorstep in the next sort of 10 years, isn't it? So I probably need to be thinking how that's going to look. So maybe you can look that far ahead, but don't worry if you can't. Just start thinking about what you would like to do differently from today to make your life how you'd like it to be, to get nearer to how you'd like it to be. What is that quote? If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So if you want something different from what you've got today, then you need to do something differently about it. I love that quote, so good. And what services can you offer? So again, this is a slide from the Society of Virtual Assistants, and this is from their survey, and you can see here the types of services that are most in demand, if that's helpful to you. I think I've alluded to a lot of these already. General admin, as I said, is by far the most in demand, but PA and diary management as well. That's what we typically see. That's not changed in all the years I've been doing this. You don't have to offer all of these things, by the way, not at all. And if you're going to do something like accounts or bookkeeping, be really mindful, do you need to be qualified for what you're doing? Do you need to be AML registered? That could be another legal requirement. So make sure that you're meeting all of the standards you need to meet for the work that you're offering. This is quite a fun one, personal support, that people don't really think about. The others, I think, are quite often what you'd expect to see. But sometimes people, like busy CEOs, busy mums, or even dads, Or sometimes I've had couples that have got their own businesses and they want some support in the household. And it's obviously virtual. So it's things like helping book the dog in the vets or book the car in the MOT or arrange a holiday or, there's all sorts of things that you can do in terms of personal support. So that's something to keep your mind open to. One fun fact is that we've actually done some work in uploading clothes to Vinted for one of our clients. So whoever knew that you could be paid to do that? And in there it says including access to work, and access to work is a government funded scheme that helps people that need some support to be able to deliver their business. And often we see it with the neurodiverse can get some sort of financial support from the government to ensure that their businesses stays afloat. And some people specialise in doing this type of work to work with people that have got neurodiverse challenges. It might be that they actually work and do admin with them, but also often, occasionally, I should say, not often, they like to have what they call body doubling. So somebody to sit with them and work with them. That's another service that you might not know about. So there's lots and lots. I mean, this list is by no means exhaustive. There's so much you can do. And a little graphic. This might feel a bit overwhelming, but it's just an opportunity to think about who you want to work with. And I definitely don't expect you to know all of this at this stage. But it's some things to prompt your mind about who you want to work with. And perhaps think about, it's quite good to give them a name, and then think about what their goals are and what their values are, because we want to work with people that we've got aligned values. But what are their challenges and their pain points? And start to get clear about what their challenges are. It's much easier to speak to them in your marketing. So maybe make a start on just getting some clarity around who it is that you want to work with. And then how to find clients again. This is from the Society of Virtual Assistants survey. The vast majority of people find their clients, and this is still true for us today, through referrals and word of mouth. It's incredible, really. I mean, we've been going, like I say, I think it's 10 years. It's coming up 10 years. And I think 88% of our business has come from referrals and word of mouth. But face-to-face networking is also very powerful. The reason this is because people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And those two ways of working and finding clients fast tracks that relationship. So it's not surprising that these come out on top for me. But there's some other ideas there to help you understand what other VAs are finding their clients. And then some fun facts for you. The average hourly rate in the UK at the moment is £34.16 an hour. I definitely would say I would put it at 35. What we normally see with people going through our course is they don't feel confident to start at £35 an hour. So it might be that you want to start a bit lower, but I'm always mindful that, if you start too low, well, first of all, you're underselling yourself and your value. But second of all, you might be super confident in 6 months' time and then realize you can't do a £10 an hour price increase, so, fair enough if you feel like you want to start a little bit lower than that. But if you bear in mind that that's the average rate in the UK, then you should be up around about that point. And the average number of clients that most VAs have got at the moment is 9 clients. I mean, that's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot to hold in your head, but it's good fun, and it certainly gives you a varied selection of work. And then a full-time VA average annual turnover is just short of £54,000 a year. So that's not a bad salary for somebody who's, I'm sure that, don't forget you've got to pay your tax and national insurance and everything and contribute to your own pension. But that's a really good turnover for somebody who's not really paying any other costs in terms of transport or childcare or any of those things. And it takes, on average, 1 to 3 months to find your first client. So where do most people get stuck? A lot of people don't know where to start. They feel it's a bit overwhelming. This is the thing I hear all the time. When we do our one-to-one free mentoring sessions, it's one of the big things I hear are these things, really. But the big ones are the boundaries and the belief in themselves and knowing where to start. I would start, I've talked you through some of the things that you need to think about to start your business. So that's where I would start, is get some clarity on the who, what, and when, you know, how much you're charging, who to, what services, and how you're going to find your clients. That's where you need to start. And you need to work on that mindset and believe in yourself. And even if you are somebody who's confident and believe in yourself, sometimes these things can come and go. It's constant roller coaster. So make sure that you understand how your mindset could derail you, and put in strategies to help you stay like, well, thanks mindset for trying to derail me. I've heard you, but I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to carry on regardless. Boundaries is another big problem that I see with people, is that they say yes to everything and then realize they can't do everything, or they say they can use a technology and they can't, or they pick up the phone at 7 o'clock at night because their client's ringing and they're super stressed that they've done something wrong, and then they've made a rod for their own back because then the client keeps ringing all over the weekend and stuff like that. So it's like, understand your boundaries in order to protect them. And then how to find clients. I see that a lot. I've just shared with you how people are finding clients. We actually do a masterclass once a quarter to help people with that. Put in some strategies and get you to write your own 90-day strategy on how you're going to start looking into that. Procrastination is another thing. There's always a reason why I can't start now. You know, there's always something, and that's just you keeping your body, keeping you safe so that you don't risk failure. That's what we don't want to do, isn't it? We don't want to put our head out there and risk not failing in some way. So it's just easier not to do it at all. But as I said just now, if you don't start somewhere, you're never going to start, and you'll never change your life to the way that you want it to be. And then some people that have that fear of being visible, thinking, oh gosh, I'm not very good at social media, I don't want to be all over that. You don't have to be on social media. It does help. But you don't have to be all over social media. And there are ways and strategies that you can put in place to help you get past that fear and start just moving forwards in a very gentle way. So if you'll allow me, I'm just going to take a sip of water. No questions yet. You're very quiet, you two. Very well behaved, aren't you? So I want to talk to you about our course Activate. It is our business startup course for virtual assistants. That's no problem. It's exactly why we've done it at this time. It's absolutely no problem. You can listen in and just hopefully you'll have plenty to take away. And you can always come back to me with questions afterwards as well. It's not, you can email me or contact me on socials or whatever. I wrote this in 2020. In fact, I probably wrote it before that, but I procrastinated so much that I didn't put it out until 2020. But we're now on cohort 11, can you believe? So that's amazing. We do 2 or 3 cohorts a year. And this year we're trying something new, and I would really value your feedback on this. If not now, then, afterwards. What we've decided to do is do a summer school, because normally we launch in January and September. And we thought we might just do it over a few Saturdays in the summer, just to do a short burst for people who want to fast track their business. We had a lot of people on our last course that had been made redundant, and I thought this could be something that people want. So it's exactly the same program, exactly the same content. There are 10 modules, there are lots of videos, lots of written content. There is it goes through in a chronological way. There are lots of templates to save you reinventing any wheels. There's workbooks. There's other content in there that helps you in terms of tech, and honestly, there's so much. And I'm really happy to show you around the back end afterwards if you want to. But our courses are CPD accredited. It's lifetime free access to both the course and our membership. We give people who buy these bigger programs get free access to the membership, which is where we do 2 Q&A sessions a month with me. There's all the masterclasses from all the guest experts in there. So there's 40, I think, in there now. where you can go and see Gemma's hour on mindset, or you can go in and have a look at something on GDPR. You can pick and choose in there in the content as and when you need it. You don't need to go through all 40 hours and find that hugely overwhelming. We can if you want to, but what I would suggest is you dip into the things that you need right now. It's like, I need to know a bit more about cyber essentials, for example. Maybe a client's asked for it. So there's a session on cyber essentials in there. So that's inside the Up Level Lounge, which is the membership. That's continually growing. You can keep adding to that. But you also get lifetime access to the full course as well. And you can go back anytime you like to go back and re-listen to some of those things. We have Gemma that will come and do a session with your group on mindset, so that can help you move things forward and understand why your mind's keeping you safe. As I mentioned before, we offer our alumni associate opportunities should the right fit come along. Can't make any promises because I never know what's going to come through the door. And of course, we've got a thriving community. We've got a Slack community of all of our alumni. So everybody's in there, and you can lean on each other and reach out to each other to help you in your business. I say so many times throughout the course, it's really important to build your network, and the people that you're on the cohort with and the people inside that alumni or that are in the membership really become a valuable asset to you. And honestly, I can't promote that enough. So there's lots and lots in there that you can get your teeth into, but also I introduce you to the tech throughout the course. So this time we're going to be delivering it over 2 Saturdays. It's going to be quite intense, but the whole point is that it's a summer fast track so that you can spend the next few months getting things up and going, but you've still got access to me inside the membership so that you can, if anything comes up during that time. That's the curriculum. It's all already on the website, but these are the modules that you'll work through. There's lots more information on the website if you want to find out more about that. And then what's included is the live training, 2 times Saturday schools, lifetime access to the course, lifetime access to the Up Level Lounge. I'm going to do an accountability session a few weeks afterwards to make sure that you've got everything you need. Whenever anybody invests in me, I really want to make sure you get what you want out of it. And I will do everything within my power to help you get there, even if it's helping you working on your mindset, whatever it is. I feel like if you've invested in me, I really want to help you get to where you want to go. And of course, I mentioned the session with Gemma. So why advance? More than 50% of our students have their client before the end of the course. Well, that's the 10-week program. I can't make any promises with the Saturday, but by module 6, when you're working with clients, you're ready to be reaching out to people. So it depends on how quickly you work through the content yourself. Essentially, I will definitely be, so long as you're coming to the membership sessions, I will be encouraging you to push forward and put yourself out there. I'll be right there holding your hand, but I will be a little bit firm if you're not starting to be brave enough to put yourself out there. One of our students was fully booked within 4 months. She's absolutely thriving now. Some of our students have started agencies like me. Some of our students now come back who have started agencies, come back and ask for our students to work in their agencies. So that's a lovely full circle, isn't it? As I said, the community is hugely valuable. You're never on your own, even after the course is finished. VAs who have undertaken a course feel more confident to charge those rates I talked about. I'm a Society of Virtual Assistant approved trainer, really important because some people don't have the credentials they say they've got. So just be really careful. If I'm not your VA trainer, that's absolutely fine. I'm not necessarily everybody's cup of tea. But just be careful if you decide to go elsewhere that you do your due diligence on those courses. I wrote a course for Lisa Johnson. If you don't know who she is, look her up. She's a huge multi-million online guru. I still work directly with clients, mainly because I love it, but it keeps me very relevant to you as well. And then I have a thriving VA agency, as I mentioned. Excellence is at the core of everything I do. And I can add so much more than just how to be a VA, because I teach people how to be an online business manager. I'm a director of operations, and I can help you to think much bigger than the basic VA services. And as I mentioned also before, I heavily invest in myself. At the moment, I'm doing just done a nervous system regulation course, and now I'm going to do a coaching course on nervous system regulation. I'm also currently on a sales course, and I'm on a dashboards course for metrics and KPIs, which is when we're getting into the OBM level of stuff. This course is £1,200. It's normally £1,500, but because we're doing it over 2 Saturdays, it's less of my time. Everything else is the same. So we've reduced it to 1,200, and there are payment plans, optional payment plans. Should that be your preferred way to go? There is a pay in full bonus where you're getting a 50-minute session with me, which is normally £195. And you can use that anytime up to 6 months after the course. So once your business is up and going, maybe you want to do a deep dive and maybe you want to take it in a different way. Whatever it is, maybe it's not where you want it to be. You can use that time however you wish. That would be there for you to use. And I like this quote, one day or day one. Powerful, isn't it? So many people say one day I'm going to do that, and particularly as women, we say, oh, well, when this one goes to school, I'm going to do this, or when this happens, I'm going to do this. But why? Why are we waiting? Quick side story, Katie, who's on my team, she was on my first cohort of doing this course. And I said this there, and she lives in Canada. She's a military spouse as well, and she went out to Walmart and saw a big poster that said this, and she said, well, that was a sign. A big poster saying one day or day one, so she signed up and she's been with me ever since. She now actually runs my agency for me. So the cart is open to join us in our summer school, should that be of interest to you. And it's on our website under Academy and Activate, and I'll share the links in the chat in a minute. In fact, I can do that now. Can I grab it? Yeah. This is open now. We're actually getting started very soon, so it's open until end of Friday, I believe. Sorry, I'm trying to do 2 things at once here. And then if you would like to have a chat with me, my diary is quite tight right at the moment, but I've set aside some time for some calls, and there's a opportunity to book in a call with me there. If there isn't a time that works for you, then just give me a shout, message me either on social media or an email, and I can find somewhere for you to have pop in a chat. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. I really hope you've got some value out of today. Please feel free to ask any questions. You can come off mute if it's easier. You don't have to type it.
Really informative, Paula. Thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to drop. I dropped out. We just lost everything. So
that's no problem at all. These things happen. You get used to that working in this industry.
Yeah.
No problem at all. So let me know if you've got any questions, or where you are in your journey of thinking about this. Is this brand new to you, or are you just like finding out a bit more at the moment? Where are you at with things?
Well, obviously my background is military administration, executive assistant, that sort of stuff, all in the G1 sphere. And when I left 3 years ago, I've just been helping people out, I wouldn't say unofficially, but on an ad hoc basis, and just doing exactly what you said. Somebody says, oh, Amanda, will you help me with this? Will you help me with that? Yeah, not a problem. And I just thought maybe I should make this a little bit more permanent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've got everything there. Am I good at marketing? No. I'm terrible at marketing, the usual sort of thing. Typical military, everybody else sells you rather than sells yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm completely set up now. Website's done, all of the insurances, ICO, all the legals are in place. And I think it was just a tick box exercise to see that I was where I should be.
Mm-hmm.
And but I did join your Level Up.
Oh, the membership.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, I did join that because I think that'd be really, really useful, because obviously I've got everything. You know what I mean? Training side, and for me, I think that the training would be just a little bit of a back step for me, just sitting ticking boxes.
Yeah.
But I do want to be part of the community,
Yeah.
because I think you're right. You have to learn from each other, and there is a bit of networking. What I really need to work out is whether, because of the marketing side, would I be happy just being an associate? Probably. And
Yeah.
maybe that's the route I'll go down.
Yeah.
So I'm just, I finish. Again, as you know, I'm in Spain. I'm retired from the army. I've got a pension, but my brain doesn't realise it's time to retire.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
brain's saying, "Come on, Amanda, you need to keep working." So I want to keep ticking over. I want to do some work,
Yeah.
um, but not enough that I don't feel as if I'm retired.
Yeah.
Not much, So I want to sort of a break into, so just doing it for enjoyment and doing it obviously to get something out of it, because I do enjoy helping people, and I'm like you as well. I like to organize. I like to clean things up.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's
that's really
perfect.
who I am.
Perfect for you then, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just need to go through the pages on the level up thing. Because I'd shoot out this morning. We had a veterans breakfast. I run a veterans breakfast on the first Wednesday of every month. So
Nice.
I had to go and do that.
Where in
But yeah,
Spain are you?
Almeria. So we're inland Almeria.
Okay.
So nice little village.
Oh, how lovely.
I know. Edge of the olive groves. I look out to the olive groves. And I
Oh,
think
very
we're getting a heat
nice.
wave just now, so it's a bit hot. So
Can't have it all though, can you?
I know, I know. We can't complain about the heat. We're in Spain.
No, exactly, exactly. It's what you went there for.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um, sorry, oh, she's gone.
Oh,
The other person had a question but had to go. What? Anyway, that's a shame. Yeah, she said she didn't like, or they said, I didn't know whether it was male or female.